All right, so today would be exploring any opportunities with Excel, and we would also be looking at the practical session, which is Excel. All right, sorry, I got a bit distracted. Okay, so I'm going to introduce myself again for those who were not here yesterday. Opeyemi Agbola, and I'll be your tutor for this webinar. Okay, so if you're on mute, I'm going to help you get muted. Okay, thank you for muting yourself. Thank you. And by the way, I can't see the Zoom screen, so if you have any question, you can just unmute yourself and say hello, and I will be happy to take your questions. Okay. All right, so although according to the agenda, we are supposed to look at the earning the opportunities that comes with freelancing as either an expert or as a beginner in Excel. However, I'm going to push that to the end of the workshop so that we can get started first with the practical session using Excel. All right. So what are those things we'll be looking at today in the practical class? We're going to generally look at how the Excel interface looks like and the navigation tools. As data analysts using Excel, what are those things we need to know, at a very basic level, from data entry to, data cleaning basics. Remember, we explained the data analysis pipeline yesterday, how it is important for you, first of all, to have a clear objective of what the project is. You need to understand the client's requirements. Okay, either as a freelancer who is working for a client or as a corporate person who is working on a project in his or her place of work. So you need to understand the goal of the analysis you're about to perform. Very important. The objective is typically, sorry, is someone saying something? Catherine, I think you are not muted. Okay. So the objective, so as you come in, kindly mute your mic. So Abioye, can you mute your mic? Okay, is it Titilo? I Bemisola. Okay, I'm going to just mute it. Why has the mute option suddenly disappeared? Titlope, can you kindly mute your mic? All right. Okay, so just like I mentioned, so in the data analysis pipeline, please can you mute your mic as you comment so that we don't get distracted? If you can hear me, kindly mute your mic. Thank you. All right. So we want to have a clear objective of what we want to achieve at the end of the day. Right? You need to understand where you're going to. And after you have a clear objective, then the next thing is to collect data. All right, just like I emphasized yesterday, the nature of the data you'll be collecting will be based on the problem you want to address as the analyst. All right. And it could come from a combination of different sources. It could come from databases. It could come from surveys. All right. Now, we have a data set we're going to be using as model for our session today. And we'll be performing all sort of operations using Excel on this data set, from sorting to filtering and some basic formulas. Would also see how far we can go till we're able to create a dashboard and see how that works. All right, so I'm just going to close this and take you to my Excel interface. If you can see my Excel, kindly send your favorite emoji in the chat box. Awesome, awesome. We're just two people. I'm saying just a few. Okay, awesome. Okay, so I'm going to just give us an idea of where we are going to, and this is at a basic to intermediate level, and then we're going to come back to our raw data and see how far we're going to get there. So this is a first sheet, and this is pretty much the second sheet, more like where we are coming to today. Now, for those who are not, familiar with Excel, you've never used Excel before. This is Excel. It's a multi-purpose software. We use it for different activities, different operations, including data analysis. All right. People within the financial sector use it. Scientists in STEM use Excel. We use Excel for all kinds of things. So you as a data analyst, Excel is an essential fundamental tool that you should be comfortable using for data analysis. All right, so of course, I'm not going to explain one by one what each and every of these buttons what they mean. But then as you interact with the tool, the Excel itself, you'd come to learn how they apply and how to actually use them. However, there are basic things that we need to know. So we have the file section, that's where you would normally, import your data from, or you save your data. You have home, you have insert, um, you have the page layout formula, you have data, review, view, and help. They're all important features. I'm not going to bore you with all of that for today. Okay. Now, so what are those things we're going to be doing today? We're going to be cleaning our data. As I was saying earlier, in your data analysis pipeline, after you have set a clear objective, the next thing is to collect your data. After collecting your data, you then need to clean it, because you want to be sure that the integrity of your data set has not been compromised. All right. And how clean your data is will determine the kind of the level of accuracy or degree of accuracy of whatever result you would get and the interpretation that you'll be drawing from the analysis. Please kindly mute your mic so that we don't get distracted. Thank you. All right, so after cleaning, of course, you want to swing into data transformation and data analysis, which we're going to be doing. And at the end of the day, we're going to come up with a dashboard, and together we'll look at the dashboard and ask ourselves, assuming we were working for a client, what are the possible insights we would have communicated to that client? All right. So this is a very simple and basic data set. However, the principles that we'll be learning today applies to any kind of data set, regardless of how large they are. Okay. Now, there are basic things you should note that where you have A, B, C, etc., the column, all right? What we call the data head, all right? And where you have one, two, three, is referred to as the cases, or you call it the rows, all right? Now, where they intersect forms a rectangular cell.
ló ń da epo sínú
Sorry, you are not muted. Okay, let me quickly
ń
check.
gbọ̀n.
I, Okioluwa Seun, kindly mute yourself. Thank you. Okay.
Ó lè dá sí ẹ̀ ń tèkì risco ẹ̀ dẹ̀ ń ta afẹ́. Kò dá kí máa mú torchlight lọ sí.
Oluwaseun, kindly mute. I'm not even sure Oluwaseun
Torchlight
can hear me.
ẹ wá depo sí níbi tẹ́ ti ń tàn kò má dà.
Sorry, I needed to stop sharing. The sharing was covering the mute mic, so I had to quickly mute that person. Okay, so yeah, I was explaining. So we have this. So this is the column, and this is the rows. These are the rows. All right, and where they intersect, where they meet, it's called cells. This is a cell. Each of these are called cells. All right. Now, as an analyst, it is good for you to first familiarize yourself with the data. And how you do that is first of all by looking at the data head or the column head. You want to look at the variables you are dealing with. Note that all of these for the rows, they are the entries. All right. Now, by simply looking at the column head, it gives you an idea of what the data is and what kind of analysis you can begin to perform with this data. All right. So you would observe that these variables, they are not so legible. So the first you want to do to your data is to ensure that in case it comes off this way after you open your data set, it becomes legible. At this top left corner, you can just click on it. It's going to highlight your data set for you. Right? So after highlighting your data set, you can then proceed to, you can just click on this particular site. When you double click on it, it's going to expand your data automatically. All right. Ensure to call me back in case you missed any point. All right. It's a webinar. It's we do not have so much time to have several iterations, but then if there's anything, just call me back immediately and I'm going to. All right. So you see, after doing that, so what we did just now is to first highlight our data set and then we just brought our cursor. It can be anywhere and then we double click on this border. After double clicking, it's going to expand so that you can view your data better. Now, looking at this data set, we see order ID, we see date, we see customer name, we see region, we see product category, we see quantity sold, we see unit price, we see discount in percentage, we see, returned. And we're saying something like no, definitely no and yes. Okay, so that's like saying, was it returned or not? And then we see total price. Those are 10 variables. By the way, variables are anything. It can be, like in this case, customer name, anything that can take any of a prescribed set of values. All right. In this case, everywhere we say customer name, obviously we're referring to the names of the customers. Everywhere we say discount, we're referring to these values in percentage. And everywhere we say returned can take only two values, which is either yes or no. So we can say returned is a dichotomous variable or is dichotomous in nature. All right. Now I'm taking this, I'm building, and I want you to follow me slowly as we actually build. Right. Now you can immediately tell that this is coming from a retail business. All right. Now to know what kind of business it is, now from the product category, you can immediately see electronics, you can see books, you can see furniture. So it tells us, you can see clothing that, oh, this kind of retail store, they sell multiple kinds of um, products in their business, right? So um, I think someone is not muted. Please permit me to quickly um, mute the person. Right. Now, so from the product category or the product line, you can tell which um, what kind of things they sell in that business. So the owner of the retail store has employed you as an analyst. It could be as a freelancer, or you are working in that retail store. Let's say it is Just Right, for example. Okay. Now you want to then analyze this data. Now, I haven't understood that you have 10 columns, all right? You then need to begin to ask yourself, okay, so what kind of analysis can I perform on this? But then there are things like I mentioned that can compromise the integrity of your analysis. For example, if your data is not clean, it's going to impact your analysis. So the next step is then to clean our data. Now, in data cleaning, what are those things we look out for in data cleaning? Number one, we want to be sure that our data set does not, contain um, duplicates. All right. Now, note that all the things we'll be doing before now are also form of, data cleaning, right? Um, but then there are deeper things like checking for duplicate, like checking for missing values. And those are the things we're going to be looking at today before we go home. However, there's one more thing I want you to pay your attention to before we move to, duplicates, missing values, etc., etc. Our order ID is looking good. There's nothing serious. These are just IDs for each order that was received. Um, it's important to note that in your data cleaning, if you have an ID repeating itself twice, it's a problem. It's a duplicate. It shouldn't be, actually. And so order ID becomes important whenever you want to check if you have duplicate, because order ID is supposed to be unique. No two people can have the same ID when they place an order. All right. So imagine all of us that are on this call went to Just Rice to place order in a particular day. For every order we make, there is a unique code or order ID that is generated for us. No two people can have the same thing. So in a case where in the data, an ID is repeating itself twice, is likely going to be a duplicate. All right. But then we're going to come to that because we're going to look through our data to see if we have anything of such. Now, from dates, I'm trying to help you see how you can check each of your column to be sure that it's well formatted. Dates is giving me the dates I'm saying year, I'm saying day, I'm saying month. It's also showing me typically what we call time. All right. Now, this is a dummy data, and that's why it looks like, oh, you're having 000. Now, this is like the hour, the minutes, the second. Your data can come in this form. It's important for you to transform each of your column to meet certain criteria so that by the time you begin your analysis, or you begin to do things like sorting and filtering, it becomes easy for your analysis. All right. Now, take for example things like date. We need to transform our
Mbo.
date. Kindly
Mbo.
please mute yourself.
Mbo.
Please mute your mic. Oh my. Trying to see who that is. Okay. All right. So for date, we want to transform our date into a proper form. Now from home, now there are plenty things here. All right. As you progress as an analyst using Excel, you'll get familiar with them. But then from the basics, start learning basic things like, now if you take note, you'll see that I have um, I have clipboard, I have font, I have alignment, I have number, I have style. Now this number is where we are coming to for now. In order for our data transformation, we want to be sure that our data types are correct. All right, and we'll begin with dates. Okay, so once you click with your cursor, you bring your cursor here. Once you click on that particular column you want to transform, you want to come to number here. Now you see that the default is general. What that means is that whatever the form that each of these data is, by form I mean whatever the data type is, whether it is numeric or string or date or whatever, Excel does not have a perfect understanding of it yet until you define each of your column to mean whatever you want it to mean. Okay? So for date, we know date should be date, all right? Then we need to come here to check, okay? So what are we looking out for? Now you see general, we have number, we have currency, we have accounting, we have short date, now we have long date. All right, for the purpose of your analysis and at this level, you want to select short date. The moment you click on short date, and short first alight before you perform the operation, is going to transform your data into short date. You see that it has removed all the hours and because we don't really need them. By the time we start doing higher analysis and we are doing visualization, we want to do things like line graph and want to check the trend over time. All right, I'm going to explain all of this concept as we go on. Now you see the reason why we needed to make our date shorter and cleaner. All right, now we've dealt with this. I've told you for this, it's pretty straightforward. Um, it's order ID, it should be unique. All right, you shouldn't have repetition. Now for the date, we've cleaned the date. The next is customer name. Name is supposed to be a text, not number. All right, and typically it's appearing to be text, what we call string data type. All right. Now region, we do not have too much issues. Now the things you should pay attention to is because those are the things you'll be using for um, numerical analysis. All right. So as a data analyst, you must note that most times you're working with numbers. You're working with facts from reliable figures. If I want to say data, data are raw fact or raw information, so to say, that have not been processed. And as the analyst, you want to perform four types of analysis on it, just like we explained yesterday during the webinar that as analysts, we do what we call descriptive analysis. And in descriptive analysis, we ask questions like, what happened? All right. So imagine it was just right that I gave you this data as a data analyst and says, please help us analyze our data. We don't know what has happened to sales. Sales in this past few months has not been good. But then this is the sales data for last year, for example, all the months in last year. Okay, so as a data analyst, you want to conduct a descriptive analysis to then understand, okay, so what happened? So in what happened, what you simply do is you use things like charts, like bar charts and all of that. We're going to get to that. You want to understand the current situation of their data. So you want to do some exploration or what we call exploratory data analysis. You want to understand things like what was the average sales last year? How many purchases happened last year? All right. So that is what happened. That's descriptive analysis. Then there's something called diagnostic analysis. In diagnostic analysis, you want to check, okay, so that thing that happened, why did it happen? Okay. For example, it could be that the first 3 months of last year, they engaged in adverts and that thing impacted sales, but they stopped. And as they stopped, there was a sharp decline in sales across several months. All right, now you're beginning to enter what we call diagnostic analysis. And yesterday I was giving an instance of, you going to see your doctor and, with a medical challenge, and the doctor says, okay, we need to carry out some tests. We call those tests diagnostic tests. All right, you go to the lab, they take your blood sample, and after you have been checked, you bring the result to the doctor diagnoses you or gives you a diagnosis. But he doesn't send you home. Okay, he needs to treat you, all right, or give you prescription. That prescription is what we call prescriptive analysis. As data analysts, we are data doctors. All right, note two things. We are data doctors and we're also data prophets because as analysts, we also make prediction of the future. All right, and that falls within predictive analysis. So I've mentioned four things. Now, one is descriptive analysis. What happened? That's descriptive analysis. Two is diagnostic analysis. Why did it happen? What really happened? Okay, now that's you trying to investigate what could have happened to have affected the trend or whatever you noticed in their data. That's diagnostic. Then we have predictive analysis based on the data you have, based on the current situation. You then want to say, okay, based on this data, this is what will happen in the coming months or in the coming years. And that's what they need a data analyst for. Daily, we collect vast amount of data across every industry you can think of, every business, and data analysts have become very important day by day. All right. And so businesses want to make decisions they want to take future decisions, and they need to take that decision from a place of evidence, fact. And that's where your work starts as an analyst. So I've mentioned descriptive, I've mentioned diagnostic, I've mentioned predictive and prescriptive, because you don't just describe the problem, you don't just point out what the problem is, that's in diagnostic, you don't just predict what will happen, you also prescribe, and that's prescriptive analysis. Now, it's important for me to quickly digress a bit to emphasize that because that forms the bedrock of your data analysis processes. Okay, you must be organized in your analysis. Now, let's come back to our data. Okay, now note that we're trying to transform our data into forms so that the integrity of the data we maintain, and at the end of the day, we'll be sure that yes, the data we used for our analysis was clean before we swung into it. Now, don't worry yourself much about all this text data. By text data, I'm referring to those ones that just have words. But concern yourself more with those ones that have figures, because if you miss the figure, that's where the bulk of your analysis lies. If you miss the figures, then your analysis is likely to be very, very wrong. Okay, let me just share this particular screen so that you don't see this on my screen. I'm going to first of all stop sharing. I'm going to reshare that particular screen. Okay, so I think it's better this way. Please confirm if you can see my Excel screen. So you can just unmute yourself and let me know.
Yes, we can.
Okay. Okay, so Okioluwashi, I'm just seeing your message. You said, can you please send this data to me for that? Definitely the data will be shared, but then we want maximum concentration during the webinar. So I'm not going to share it yet. Remember that you're going to be getting certification for the webinar, and one of the criteria is that you are able to submit your dashboard. So yeah, we're going to share that and other resource at the end of the webinar. Thank you. So let's continue. All right. Okay. Now, so like I said, concern yourself more with the numerical columns or the columns with numerical data. So quantity sold, unit price, discount, and total price are all numeric. So just like we did here, we want to highlight quantity sold. Okay, quantity sold, you want to make sure that it is not in decimal form, and you want to be sure it is numeric, not general. Okay, you need to tell Excel exactly what you mean, what you are defining this column to mean, so that it's going to interpret it as such. So after highlighting it, by just bringing your cursor here and clicking on it, you transform it to number. You see automatically at default, it gives it two decimal places, but we don't want that. So to reduce or increase decimal place, you find these two buttons. One goes to the left. The one that goes to the left would increase the decimal point. As you can see, it's increasing, but that's not what we want to do. We want to reduce it. We don't want any decimal place. Good. So now it has been transformed to number. All right. So gradually we're getting there. Next is unit price. Because of the tendency of unit price to have decimal numbers, in data analysis, we call it float, or in Python, for those who are familiar with Python, we call it float. So we want it to be in at least two decimal places. So, but we don't want it to be general. So what do? We transform it to number and just leave it as it is. Okay, so that has been transformed and it is still in two decimal places. Then for discount, discount should be number. It doesn't have to be in decimals. So again, we transform this to number, and then we reduce this to just one decimal place. Good, that's discount. Then return, okay, that's not. Then the last column that is numeric that we have here is total price, right? So total price can be left as two decimal places. So, but then we need to transform this to numbers. Okay, so I've transformed it to number and we have this. Now, before we even begin any analysis, we then need to ask ourselves, in this data, do we have duplicates? If we do, then we need to remove the duplicate. All right, so let's check for duplicates. To highlight your data, you need to go to the right corner of the data here. Once you click on it once, it's going to highlight, excuse me, it's going to highlight the entire data set. All right. Now, after you've highlighted your entire data set, you want to come to remove duplicate. Also, you can decide to check column by column. Okay. And that's by highlighting each column. That's going to take a little more time. So now after highlighting the entire data set, you're going to come to this button called data, and you'll see under data tools, you'll see remove duplicate. You want to click on remove duplicate. Once you click on it, it's going to, a dialog box is going to pop up, and you're going to see something like, oh, to delete duplicate value, select one or more columns that contains duplicate. Now, this button says select all right? And this says unselect all. Now, it's important for you to ensure that this is ticked, that my data has edge. What it's going to do is, now note that in our data, for the first row, we have order ID, data, and all of that. In order for Excel not to see them as data, but just as headers, okay? They are just variables that are used as headers. We need to say, oh, my data actually has headers. So don't include it as part of the data, all right? So it's going to exclude all of those and then just focus on the data itself. So we've picked everything and then we're going to say, okay, now it tells me that, oh, actually no duplicate values were found. All right, now we're at a basic level And it's important for me to just leave it at this level. And there are other things that you can actually do while checking for duplicates, but then later we're going to come to see that. So for now, the next thing you want to move to is to check for missing values and to deal with missing values. Okay. Now, excuse me. To check for missing values, you need to check from individual columns. And that's very, very important to check from individual columns. I would like to, at a basic level, I like to recommend that. There's a way you can check all at once through your entire data. For now, learn to check from the individual column. Okay. Now, I'm going to start with customer name, and that's because I have an idea of what this data already looks like, because I prepared it as a dummy data for this webinar, for this workshop. So customer name, we want to see if there are missing values in this particular column. Remember that when you have missing values, now these missing values can be in the process of the entry, all right, when the data was collected. Remember I gave an instance that imagine that this data came from Just Right or from ShopRite, and it is the order for different customers. Okay, so a customer, as they were placing their order online, all right, they are supposed to input their name. Let's assume that order ID and date will be generated by the software for that they are using, or the app. All right. So the customer name, they are putting in their name themselves, the region they are in, the product category, the quantities. But now all of these things in the database of Just Right, there might be an issue in the process of data entry. It could be that there is an omission in the customer name at some point. There might be an omission even in date. There might be an omission in the region. There might be an omission in the unit price. There might be an omission anywhere. And that's what we call missing value. This can impact your analysis, and that's why you must deal with it. You must fill it at least with something. Now, especially for Excel, if you do not fill it up with something, it can cause different errors when you begin your analysis, especially if it's a numerical value that is missing in a numerical column. Okay, so we've highlighted customer name, all right, and we want to check if there are any missing values. You want to go to home. After you've highlighted it, you want to click on home. You want to look for find. There's this button called find. Okay, find and select. Once you click on it, you see a dialog. Okay, now what you want to go to is go to special. You see go to, not go to. All right, you want to click on go to special. So once you click on go to special, it's going to give you another dialog that has plenty things like this. You want to focus yourself on blanks. All right, so you want to click on blanks. All right, so once you click on blanks, excuse me, you want to say okay. The moment you say okay, immediately it's going to, for that column, it's going to highlight all the cells that are missing. This is the first one that is missing. This is another one that is missing in that cell. This is another one. This is another one like that. Now, the data is not so much, and that's why I can scroll to the end of it. In case you're dealing with 22,000 entries or rows, it might be difficult for you to start seeing them one by one, all right? But this is just so that, this is for illustration, so that in principle, you know how to execute this process, okay? Now, once this pops up, after you've done this, before you do any other thing, so it is expecting you to do something to fill the missing values, okay? So here, we want to type unknown. You want to say unknown. You don't have to take your cursor to click on it. It knows that you want to type in the very first one, all right? So if there are 50 missing values in that column, the first one, the moment you start typing, is going to go into the first one and it's going to pick it. But then after typing on unknown, you want to press Control key and enter. The moment I press Control and Enter, I want to go and check if it has duplicated what I said here to other places where there are missing values, all right? And so you would notice that unknown here has filled all of the missing values. Did you notice that? Unknown. So everywhere that is missing, it says unknown, unknown. And the same principle, applies to, any other one. Now, let's say you want to now, this, because we're working with text data, it applies here. Now, now let's pick another variable, region, and see if there are missing values in region. Okay, and please confirm if you can still hear me. I need to get feedback. You can unmute yourself and just let me know.
Yeah.
We can hear you.
Awesome.
Yes, we can hear you.
Awesome. Now, notice that I said we need to go to home and go to find and select. There are many ways to get to clicking on blank. All right. Now, if you don't want to go that route, you can say Control plus G. Just type Control G. After you've highlighted the column you want to, check for missing value. Okay. So once you click on it, it's going to give you this box. Okay. Now, I would have shown you how to use some formulas to check for reference, but no, we're not going to do that because we're just building from scratch. So what you want to do is to click on Special. Once you click on Special, it's going to take you to that same place that one took you to. And then you see blanks. Click on blanks and say, okay. Did you notice again, it shows us the first missing value in that column, which is this. Like I said, you don't have to click on it. It knows that, oh, you are ready to fill it. You're ready to type something into it. Let's also use unknown here. All right. Remember what I said? After typing what you want to use to fill your missing values, you then want to say, after you've typed it, you then want to say Control and Enter. The moment you say Control and Enter, let's scroll down and see if it has applied it to the others. Good. Did you notice this? It has applied it to other parts. It's important to fill this so that by the time you begin your analysis, it tells Excel that there's something there, even though we were calling it unknown because we understand that from the entry, no data was actually collected for those cells. All right, now let's make some more progress as we progress. Now, at this point, we've done some very important data cleaning from, first of all, spacing out the length of our column. We've done that. And I said you need to highlight and you can just double click and it's going to help you to spacing it out. Okay. Then we've looked at dates, how to make it shorter. Okay. We've done that. We've looked at how to convert this to numeric values. Very important for analysis and to determine which number of decimal places that we want. Okay, and we've also checked for duplicates. We've also checked for missing values. It's important for me to do one more thing before we leave here, before we then begin to do some calculations. Now, gradually, we're beginning to move into some basic analysis, and then we'll move to higher things. Now, before we go to some analysis, another thing to note, especially if you want it to reflect in your output, is to also transform those columns that they are in money form or currency. Right? Now we need to ask ourselves, although we know that quantity sold, unit price, discount, and total price, we know that they are all numeric. However, not all of them are. Kindly mute yourself. We can hear you. Can you mute yourself? Thank you. So we need to be able to then tell, okay, so although the four of them are actually numeric variables or columns, but then Two out of them are actually money. They're referring to money. Quantity sold is not referring to money. Unit price obviously is referring to money. Discount is not referring to money. Although technically it is, but it is not as at, I mean, it's still in percentage form. But then total price also refers to money. So we need to transform these two into currency, and that's very important. So let's start with unit price. I light it. After highlighting it, the same way from O, under number, you've under usually what you have here is general, okay? You then want to look for currency, click on currency. The default is giving me is Great Britain pound, but we're in Nigeria. Let's say it's Nigeria currency we want to use. So what then do I need to do? You find some buttons here. We've used these two before for decimal. So here, we just want to click on this. You see, it gives me this. It gives me a few currencies, but I don't need any of this. I need more. It's Naira I'm looking for. So once you click on that, you're going to see so many things. Yeah, excuse me. Now, from this symbol, where you have symbol and you have Britain pound symbol, you want to click on this button. It gives you more options. You can decide to even search by just simply typing the first letter of the currency you're looking for, Naira. It gives you options, and then NGN should be Naira. All right, so I'm going to click on it and then say, okay. So did you notice that it has transformed this to Naira? So this is like 194 Naira 55 kobo. All right, we'll do the same for total price because it is in money form or currency. The same principle, we change this first to currency. After change to currency, we don't want it in Great Britain pounds. We come here and then we change this to Naira. Okay, and then we say, okay, it transforms that. Then we can proceed to some other analysis. Note that this is like a retail store data, and we have things like order ID, date, customer name, region, product category, the quantity that was sold, the price per one quantity. Then there was discount at some point, but then we have, okay, so we have returned, was it returned or not? And then we have the total price. All right. So usually total price, it would be the product of the quantity that was sold and the unit. Okay, so as an analyst, what are those basic analysis from this kind of data now that you want to begin to perform? Okay, first, let's recalculate our total price so that we'll come to see how this total price was actually um, achieved. Now, we want to call it, so this is going to be total price before the discount was applied. Okay, so note that each product has their own unit price, that is the price per one unit. All right, and then the quantity that was sold multiplied by the unit price is supposed to give us the price for one order. All right, so by the time we now add all of those together, it's supposed to give us our total price. So we need to create a new column. Okay, and this new column, let's call it our gross sales. I'm going to call it gross sales. I'll call it gross sales. All right, let me bold in it. Okay, so now you see how we've created a new column. Now for this gross sales, in order for us to check for our gross sales, we need two important columns. We need the column G, which is the unit price, and we need the column quantity. Okay, so we need to multiply whatever we have here by whatever we have here. Now, as I was explaining sales, there was something I was going to mention, and let me just quickly mention that. Now, these things are important. They're not just there for camouflage. For the colon, I mentioned that when you have A, B, C, and the colons, and these are the cases that forms the rows. Now, where A and 1, where they meet is a cell. That cell is called A1. Okay?
This is nonsense.
Sorry, you are not muted. You just said something. Well, let me confirm. Were you talking to me? Okay, so let's proceed. Now, so where A intersects with 2 will be A2. So it means this is A2. All right. In fact, once you click on it, it's going to show here. Oh, that is it. Where E meets with 5 is E5. Okay, it's important for me to mention that. All right, it's very basic. Many people do not know. All right, because that's where to start from. You need to know specific location of cells you are dealing with. All right, now back here, we created a new column for gross sales, and then we want to do some very basic analysis, and then we're going to build. All right. After we've created this, we are interested in these 2 columns, unit price and the quantity that was sold. We need to multiply these two to get our gross sales. All right, so what do? We need to start from basic. We need to first pick a simple cell so that whatever operation we perform by multiplying these two, we can apply it across board for the entire, so the same formula, we can apply it to the entire column. Okay, so how do we do that? We now come here, okay, this corresponding cell under gross sale. You want to use equal to. Equal to is an inbuilt function in Excel that tells Excel that yes, you want to perform a mathematical operation on your data. The moment you say equal to, then you now tell, okay, it is actually, okay, so what do I want to do? I want to multiply this particular cell, whatever data is there, that is F2, I want to multiply it by G2. Then the next question is, what do I use for multiplication? So Excel sees your asterisks. Asterisks should be inbuilt in number key 8 on your keyboard. Right? So you want to just say shift and 8 to give you asterisk. So asterisk is multiply. And then you want to then also come and click on the next cell that you want to multiply it with. The moment you do that, Excel understands that you're multiplying these 2 values together. Then you want to say enter. Okay. Now, so the moment I say enter, it's going to give me the gross sales. Okay. Now, I'm soon going to come and transform this because I need to ask myself, okay, so for gross sales, do I want it to appear with currency or not? Obviously, in this case, we want it to, so we're going to leave it. Okay. Now, we've performed this operation for the very first one. Please, can you mute yourself? Now, so we've performed this operation for the very first row. Now, we need to progress to, so how then do we apply this formula to the rest of the column? Because we can't start doing it one by one. We will not leave here. Imagine you have 30,000 cases. So what you need to do, so you click on the cell upon which the operation has been performed. At the bottom right corner, there's a tiny box there. You want to place your cursor on it and you want to double click. The moment you double click on it, it's going to apply the rule across board. All right, so instead of doing it one by one, this multiplied by this, what will it give me? This multiplied by this is going to apply it across board, and you're going to have that. Okay, so we've performed our first simple or basic mathematical operation using Excel. These are building blocks for you as a data analyst. All right, now you are also interested in the net sales. Now, net sales, now note that this gross sales or total price, whatever, okay, is just the product of the quantity sale by the unit price. Okay, so this person bought how many quantities? 7. And for each one, what's the price? It is 194 naira 55 kobo. So that when we multiply together, it gives us what we call the gross sale for that person. And then the same thing applies for the rest of them. But that is when discount has not applied, has not been applied. Now, when discount is applied, we need to then see, okay, so 15% of the price, what would then be the net sales that was actually made? Gong, gong, gong. All right, permit me to use gong, gong, gong because we need to know the actual net sale after discount has been applied. So I'm going to call it net sale, sorry. I'm just going to call that net sale, net sales. Okay, let me just bolden this. So net sales, we want to, now, so what operation do I perform on this? What do I need? I need unit price again, of course. I need my F2. I need my F again, which is the quantity sold. Then I need to um, subtract. So let me just write the formula as I'm saying it. So equal to, don't forget that's the first thing. Very important. Then I need F2 multiplied by G2 multiplied by. Now, the mathematical operation I want to perform here is to remove. I want to subtract. Which column do I want to subtract now? I want to subtract, in this case, let's use K, right? So let's use K. So I want to subtract the discount from that. So I'm going to open a bracket, okay? I'm going to open a bracket, then I'm going to come to the discount colon, which is this. And then I'm going to say minus this over 100. All right. Now, if you have a question, kindly unmute yourself and let me know. And I'm going to come over this. I took it gently because I wanted you to see how it works.
I want to ask, this net sales, what is it for exactly? Like, what is our target exactly? Because we know that K is for the gross sales. Can you hear me?
Yes, sure, please.
Yes. So the net sales, I don't really understand. Probably the formula is too long. Maybe that's why I don't
Okay, so just
understand.
before the formula, what we simply want to do is, now if you notice here that for us to get our gross sales, we simply multiplied our quantities sold by the unit price. Did you get that?
Unit price.
Yeah,
Yes, I got that.
that's how we got that. Now, there's another
Yeah.
important thing in our data. There was discounts that was applied, but
Yes.
all these
Okay.
discounts have not been applied yet. Are we together? All these
Yeah.
discounts, they've not been applied yet to what's it called? They've not been applied yet to our gross sales. So we want to then say, okay, so what would then be the net sale at the end of the day after we've applied discounts to each of the gross sales? That's like, for example, if you say 0%, zero, yeah, it means 0%. Obviously, it's going to still repeat itself. Okay, so there's an issue here. We're going to come back to that. Now, 15%, if we take away 15% of from the gross sales, what will be left? That will give us our net sale. In this case, the 5%, when we take away 5% from it, what will be left? In this case, 15%. Did you get that?
Yes, yes.
Okay, good. So I'm going to reshare my screen. I want to show you another data set quickly. Please confirm if you can see my screen.
Yes, you can.
Okay, great. Now, typically, this is what we want to achieve at the end of the day. Now, forget the fact that this is looking um, a little somehow different from that. We're still coming to understanding how to create tables. Okay? So just so that you have an idea of where we are really going to. Now, we've calculated for gross sales. So the net sale is simply saying that now that I've known my gross sales to be the product of this and this. That is the quantity that was sold and then the unit price. That will give you my gross sale. But that's when discount has not been applied, which is all of this. Obviously, for the first one, because there was zero discount, it's going to repeat itself under net sales. And that's why we have the gross to still be equal to the net sale. However, for the next one, when 15% discount was applied on this, you will notice that it has reduced from 1,944. So it has reduced to what? 1,652 naira 40 kobo. And that's where we're actually going to. Okay. So I'm going to stop sharing the entire screen and just come back to that. Okay. Okay. Sorry, kindly confirm again if you can see my screen.
Yes, I can see your screen.
All right, thank you very much. Okay, so let's come back here. Now, so the formula, let's look at the formula together. Oh, did I use J2 here? This wasn't. Now, to get our net sale, just like I've explained before, we want to take away discount from the gross sale. It's just simply saying that, we gave, in this case, we gave 0% discount. The next one, for the next customer, maybe the person had a promo code or something, the person has a 15% discount. Now, the gross sale will be different from the net sale. The net sale is the actual sale that was made after discount has been put into consideration. Okay, because that's the actual money that is coming in. This is just the gross sales when discount has not been applied. But when discount was applied at the point of sales, all right, it will be the 15%. In this case, when we say 15, it's like saying 15% of this amount. Take away 15 out of it. You went to buy something and they say it is 100 naira normally, but then we're going to give you 15% discount. It means you're not going to pay 100 naira again. You'll be paying 85 naira because you now have 15% discount from it. Again, if the price were to be 200 naira and they say 15% discount, the 15% of 200 naira is 30 naira. So by the time you remove 30 naira, it means you'll be paying 170 naira. All right, so that's what we want to do here. But note that now this, although we have 15 here, this is just 15. Even though we said, oh, it's percentage, Excel does not readily see it as a percentage. All right, so that's why some basic mathematics, primary school mathematics, you need to be able to apply it here. Now, so first thing first, because I need quantity sold, which is the first one here, F2, I'm going to, after saying equals to, all right? So I'm going to say equals to, and then passing this into the argument. So I'm going to just click on this cell, and then that will appear. Then asterisk is multiplied by your G2, which is this, and that's this. Then multiplied by, you want to open a bracket, all right? Now, once you open your bracket, you want to say 1 minus, and I'm going to explain in a bit. You want to say 1 minus your H2. So remember, H colon is where you have your discount, all right? You want to say discount, which is this, over 100, because it needs to be transformed into percentage. Did you get that? Now, note that if I say 7 over 100, what is 7 over 100? Any mathematician in the house without using calculator?
0.07.
We have very smart people in the house. Very smart people. Okay. Now, in this case, we're going to use this 2 as the prototype, where you have 0 discount. Okay. Now, 0 divided by 100 is what?
0.
Okay, 0. 1 minus 0 is what?
1 now.
1. Okay, good. So it means whatever we have here will still be multiplied by 1, and that's why we have this. But then let's use another example so that you understand why we're actually using 1 here. Now, 15 percent. 15 over 100. What's 15 over 100?
0.15.
Great.
0.05.
Now that's 0.15. Now it means this formula, where we have H2 over 100, are we together? It would only give me the discount. Are we together? It would only give me the discount. However, I'm interested in how much will be left. All right, how much will be left after discount has been taken out of it. And that's why we are subtracting that amount from 100, from 1. Now, another way to do it, which I want you to experiment later, is if you don't use 1, it might be confusing for people who do not know how to reduce values. Okay, now this one simply represents 100. All right, and this, where you have 15 over 100, simply represents 15%. So you just want to leave it as 15. All right, so much so that you are simply saying 100 minus 15. What is left? What is left? 85. Did you get that? So, but because we've reduced it to decimal form, all right, and when we said H2 divided by 100, in this case, let's say 15 over 100 is going to give us 0.15. So that is the discount. 0.15 is the discount out of 1. So what will be the remaining amount after we've removed the discount? It's going to be 1 minus 0.15. So what is 1 minus 0.115? Where am I, my mathematician?
0.05.
Great. So 0.85 is a percentage. Are we together? Is a percentage of the sales that is remaining. 0.15 was the discount that was removed, while what is remaining is actually the sales. All right. So once we do this, it's going to repeat this here because it is just 0. No discount was applied to it. So remember the trick again to apply it. We just double click, you come to this corner. Now here for this one, it has applied the same formula to it, but you see it has changed a little bit. All right. So now it's F3 multiplied by G3, and then we are still having 1 minus, now it's now H3. In this case, it's 15 over 100. All right. Whatever we get there, we're going to subtract it from 1. Whatever value will now be our new discount. Okay, that discount is over 100. If you're not sure, you can multiply by 100 again to give you whatever value is going to be. Okay, so that's how we got that. Sorry. Now that we've gotten sales, the net sales, does everyone understand? I'm sure when you watch the video again, you would be able to figure it out more clearly. Can we proceed to the next thing? So now we've gotten net sales. Now let's do some other basic things before we use pivot tables, and we'll do some more advanced analysis and visualization. All right, so for this particular session, we have about 40 minutes left before we then move to freelancing, how to earn as an entry-level data analyst on online. So we're going to come to that, but then we'll take a little break when we get to that point. So let's quickly see what we can cover in the next 40 minutes. Now, assuming we're interested in total sales or total quantity sold, let me say total quantity sold. So you're interested in total quantity sold. Does anyone have any idea what we're going to do? Total quantity sold. Any idea?
You can use some.
Great.
You can
So
sum the column.
good. Now, so this is this is all the quantity now. So you're interested in now there are certain column that is unreasonable to begin to look for their sum. All right, it's unreasonable. For example, to look for the total sum of all the discounts, it doesn't make any sense to begin to check the total discount. It's unreasonable. All right. Now, so for you want to know how many were sold, it could be for that particular time period. Then we can use equals to, then we use the sum function. The moment you start typing it, Excel is going to suggest it for you. So sum, you want to open a bracket and then you have an argument. You want to pass something into the argument. We call it argument. So again, you want to go and click on that particular column you are interested in, which is F. As I click on it, it's going to highlight all the data. I can close my column and press enter. So it tells me that, oh, so the total quantity sold is actually 532. All right. Another thing we might be interested in is average unit price. That's another important thing. We might be interested in average unit price. Average simply means the mean. Okay, so you want to say equal to is intuitive. Those are inbuilt function. The moment you start typing it, it starts suggesting, and then okay, so this is what I'm looking for, average, right? Just double click on it, then it's going to open this. Then, since we're dealing with, we say unit price, then I'm going to come to, so we want to know the price, the average price that we sold per product for all the products. Then you want to highlight this and close your bracket, then enter. Now, as basic as these things look, you are beginning to analyze your data. You are beginning to glean insight little by little. All of these we are performing is descriptive, is at a descriptive level. Remember, I told you we have 4 levels of analysis. We have descriptive analysis, we have diagnostic, we have predictive, and we have prescriptive. Okay. Now, we've done basic. I'm going to, there are many other, kindly mute yourself, please. So there are other things we're going to do, but then I'm just going to pick a maximum. Okay, so assuming we're interested in the maximum discount that was given, let's call it max discount. That's for the discount column. Okay, so we need to then say equal to max. Okay, double click on it. Then you want to pass in, so we're dealing with discounts. After passing it in, you're going to close your plate and then enter. So it means the highest discount that was given throughout was 15%. There was nothing more than that, 15%. There are other things you can do, like median, like mode, other important things as you need. Their mode is, for example, you want to know the most occurring frequency for a particular thing, okay? So for now, we're going to just pause on that, and then we'll move to other things. Because of our time, there are other things we need to learn as we make progress. However, note that even from the descriptive level, you are beginning to glean very important insight from your data. Maybe we should just pick one more thing. Let's say we want to get the net sales that was made. Net sales. All right. Now, because those things are of importance to the analyst, or if you're working in a place and then you are giving the company's data and you have to, so you have to start from basic metrics. Like, okay, so what's the total quantity that was sold? It's easy for you to say, oh, so this is the total number of quantity that was actually sold during this time period. And this was the average, this is the average unit price for those products. This is the maximum discount that we actually give. Sometimes you want to be sure that there was no mistake while you were giving out discounts. If from the data you discover that it was 25, and from the company's policy, the intention was to just give out 15 as the maximum, then they'll know there's trouble somewhere. All right. So for your net sales, where do we have our net sales? to next cell is I. Okay, in the same vein, you want to say sum. You want to say equals to, then you want to pass sum. You want to say sum, and then you're going to have this, and then enter. Nobody noticed the minus. It's because there was a minus before the sum, and that was an error. Okay. So you can decide to leave this, you can decide to later reduce the decimal number depending on what you want to do to two decimal places. All right, so we're going to then move to um, so the other things, look up logical analysis, but then because I want us to arrive at dashboard quickly, I'm going to just quickly show you um, some things around sorting, filtering, and tables. So let's start with tables. Now, all of this data, they're in their raw form, all right? Sometimes your data can be saved. You see something, a file is saved as .csv, that's comma separated value file, or as Excel. So as comma separated value file, it's in text form. Usually you can open it with Excel and it would open just like this. But then for you to perform more complex analysis using tools like Power Query or the pivot table, you need to convert your data into table form. And how do you achieve this? Remember this top left corner, all right? You want to highlight your data first, very important. So after highlighting your data, you uh, you want to insert. Okay, so you click on insert. You see different things here, but you are interested in table. So once you click on tables, it's going to first show you the range of the data you picked. Now, don't people fall into a particular error, and I need to quickly show you. If you say Control A might work. All right, it might highlight the specific area you're interested in, but sometimes it's going to highlight the entire sheet. If this were not there, and I'm going to quickly remove this, permit me to quickly remove this. So I've removed that. When I say Control A, okay, there are still some things that's not completely deleted. However, now what I'm trying to establish is when you highlight the entire table and the entire sheet, okay, this is an entire sheet, and you click on table, you might struggle with the range. But because you want to be sure that you're only building table around, you have 10 columns, around where your data limit is, all right? You will then, um, first of all, place your cursor anywhere where the data is, not outside of it, anywhere on it, and then you click on this, all right? Or this. So I'm going to say, okay. Now this has been transformed. It's important that it's in table form before we proceed to some other form of analysis. Now, after we've added table to our data set, it's important for us to name our table. I want to quickly show you that. Now, once it is still showing these dialogues, you see somewhere here that it says table 2. Okay, let's call it something. Let's call it sales data. Okay, all right. Now, we're going to move to something called the pivot tables. But before we go to pivot tables, there are times that as the analyst, you are immediately interested in certain information. For example, you want to just know, or you want to know about the number of sales for a particular region. All right. Under region, we have north, we have east, we have west, and we have south. There are like 4 regions. But let's say you want to concern yourself with just the north. What do you do to the data so that all you will just see will be data focused on north? And that's where the filter function comes in. Okay, so you highlight on region, which is the what's it called, the variable that we're interested in. Right, I need to be sure that we are still together. Kindly unmute yourself and let me know if we are still together.
Yes, we are.
Yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. Some people are not on the call again. Some people are not on the call again.
We are here. We are.
Awesome. Awesome. Okay, so for our filter function, so there are different ways, but let me just show you something very basic so that we won't spend so much time here. Now, one of the advantages of creating tables is it enhances the functions of or some of the operations you can perform on your data very quickly. Now, you notice you have some buttons at the top of the headers, okay? Now, for example, region, there's a button here. Once you click on the button, it shows you different things like, sort from A to Z or sort from Z to A, that's in descending or ascending order. Sort by color, you want to customize color. Now, all of those does not concern us. We're interested in filter, okay? We want to filter the entire data because we want to see sales based on just one region. All of this data is showing us data for all the 4 regions. So now here you see it says select all, it's all selected. If I click on it, it's going to untick all of it. Since I'm interested in north, I will just click on north alone and I'm going to say okay. Notice what happens to the data. First of all, focus on region. You see that the only region that we have is north. The data, first of all, is reduced, meaning that it looks like temporarily it has expunged or removed every other region. Even with this, you can begin to say, okay, now let's assume that from the brief or the scope of work that the client gave to you for the analysis, it says we want to understand the trend of sales just sales that falls within the north or the northern region. Okay, filter immediately helps you to first of all have a general overview of this data, all right, within north, and then you can begin to perform other analysis on it. All right, so that's how filter works. All right, I just did Control Z and took us back to where we were. Okay, let's see. Let's also quickly learn about sorts. Then we'll do pivot tables, we'll look at charts, and then we'll do some visualizations and we'll create a dashboard. And we're going to pause, and then we're going to look at freelancing, how to freelance as an Excel expert or beginner. Okay. All right, so we've dealt with filter. Okay, so maybe that will be an assignment for us to go and see how sort works, because I just checked the time and we do not have so much time as such again. So let's quickly move to pivot tables. Now, pivot tables are things you'll be using a lot as an analyst who uses Excel for data analysis. All right, first of all, remember how we created our tables. After highlighting our data set, we want to go to insert and then we want to click on tables. It's going to put our data into table. Now, in the same vein, you want to click on insert again. You'll see pivot, you'll see recommended table, pivot tables. Now, while this might be great, it immediately shows you different things that your data can look like, different, grouping. But we want to create our own, all right? So we're going to ignore this and click on pivot table. The moment you click on pivot table, it's going to give you a dialog box. The first says select a table or range. Okay, note that we have named our data, and that's why it was important for us to name it. We name it as sales data. Okay, so by default, we're going to leave that. Okay, it says use an external data source. For now, ignore this at this level. You do not want to query the data from any other source. Then you want to come down. It says choose where you want the pivot report to be placed. We want to put it on a new worksheet and not on the existing one. If you put it here, it might be too clumsy. Sometimes your data sets can have up to 50 columns. Here it's just 10 columns, and that's why it's still looking sizable. Well, if it is 50, if you are not putting your visualization and all of those things on the same, it will be too modded up. So you want to put it on a new worksheet, not existing worksheet. So we're going to say new worksheet, and we're going to simply say, so now before we do that, before we move there, it's going to move to a new worksheet, and then it's going to request for the range. But then, let me just quickly go back. I'm going to delete this. I want to show something very important. So after highlighting the data, we want to, excuse me, say insert. You want to say pivot table, new worksheet. Okay. Now, from your pivot table, you're going to have different options, different variables. From our data, we have just 10 of it listed here. All right. And then you can begin to perform some basic mathematical operations, calculations, and also visualization using this. Please confirm if you got it to this point before I progress.
Yes.
So, does everyone follow?
Yeah.
Is everyone there?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Okay. Yes.
Great. Okay. Now, we want to do some analysis. Let's say we're interested in the net sales. Net sale is very important to the client or to the owner of the business, because at the end of the day, after even discount has been applied, the gross sale or total sale is not that important because it doesn't take into consideration discount. Now that we've applied discount, what is the real money that's coming, which is net sale? We want to see how it's spread across regions so that immediately you can then tell which region has the highest or the lowest sales. Okay, so how do we do this? So since we're interested in a region, we'll come here and look for region. Okay, this is region. All right, you can either click on it and then drag it here. So I'm going to just click on this and drag it to rows. Note that here we have what's it called? Just a minute. We have filters, we have column, we have region, and we have values. All right. So as you grow, you learn when we use filters. So for our rows, because we want the regions to appear as the rows, and then we want net sales to appear as the column. That's why we're dragging net sales there. Okay. Now you will notice that it doesn't appear great because it's just showing us all the net sales. So why not just look for the sum of the net sales? Okay, so what is the total net sale that was achieved? And that's where value, actually comes in. Okay, so instead of pulling our net sales into columns, now this might apply to other variables in our data, but maybe not to this because it doesn't give anything reasonable. It's just going to give you the list of all your data, even if it's 1 million. All right. So yeah, what we're simply saying is that we want to know the sum of sales, not the actual sales. All right. If it's the actual sales, it's going to just list all of them. Well, now we want to add all the net sales that we have. All right. I want to see for each. So we're pretty much using like region to distribute it. So we want to say, okay, so what is the sales distributed across the region from east to west to unknown region? Note that when we were filling in our data, we noted that there were certain regions that were unknown, all right? And that's why this is reflecting. Now, in a more advanced way, there's a way we smoothing our data to also redistribute unknown. Now, all of these things I'm saying might sound a bit complex. Don't be bothered. For now, just concern yourself with this. Now, because we're dealing with sum, the total net values, and that's why we brought it to value. So it's going to add up all the net sales together, and then it's going to also tell me the net sales per region. Okay, and that's why we have this, immediately. Now there are some, you notice that when I clicked away from it, it moves away from my pivot table. So when I click on it, the pivot table field shows again. Now there are operations I'm interested in. Now let's say I want to use a pie chart, which is more or less like a summary statistics or summary way of analysis to see the net sales by region. What do I need to do? All right. So I need to, excuse me, I need to come to data. Sorry, kindly give me a second. I need to quickly respond to an urgent text. Just a second, please. Okay, so we're going to come to data. Okay, so we want to visualize, right? So not data, we'll come to insert. And then from a search, you see different things. You see add-ins, you see table, you see chart, all kind of things. So we're coming to the chart area, and the icons immediately shows us those things that we need. Obviously, pie chart looks like pie, and then we can just click on it. The kind of pie we want to use, let's say we want to use 3D. It begins to suggest, gives you pictorial representation of what you might want to do. Okay. So for this particular data, so we're interested in the net sales by region. Okay, so notice that we have an header. You can easily edit this, your title or your chart title. We can call it sales distribution by region. Okay. Now also note that there's an option for you to compare regions, okay, in terms of size. Once you click on this key, it's going to show you a list of your regions. They are all ticked. Let's say you want to remove this unknown, for example, and this blank, okay? And you say, okay. It's just going to give you the data for the rest of this region. Now, let's say we want to compare just two regions, which has a higher sales between, let's say, north and the southern region. We'll make sure those are the only two things. So obviously, you see that the south, okay, look at the key for south, is larger than the north. You're beginning to glean insight little by little. So we're just going to go back to, let's leave it as north, east, west, and south. Let's drag this here. Let's reduce it a bit. Just a little bit. Okay. Let's see other things we can do, like column chart. The same principle, let's still work with this. Let's check using a column chart, which we know as bar chart. Insert. All right. You want to then click on this. This is the column chart here. Let's use 3D as well. Should we use 3D or 2D? Let's see how 2D will look like. Okay. So notice how this came out. So it gives us the distribution of the sales. Sorry, you're not muted. We had Habeg. Okay, so
I want to sleep. Oh, sorry.
Please don't sleep. Oh. You must finish this class. Don't sleep. Okay. All right, don't mind me. Okay. So with this also, you can immediately begin to. Okay, Alabi Kazim, you can unmute and please carry on.
I think I noticed something in the bar plot. We're having west to be the highest, and in the chart we're having which one is going the south?
The west. Check very well. Maybe because this is not clear. In the key, it has the colors. Okay, the fact that it's arranged is look at it. Sorry, let me move this. All right, so back to your question.
So like the look from the bar, we're having like we're having this. We're having from the bar, we're having like are different, like the size are different. Can we bring back the back chart?
Okay, so I think I get the gist. Now, yeah. So
it looks as if south is bigger than west.
Yes. Now from the data, so you notice something from the data that, let me go back to our sheet. Okay. There were other things that were included. You will notice blanks. All right. And I deliberately left that. I was hoping someone would observe. Now, when we highlighted our table for the pivot, it took into consideration some other blank spaces. All right. And that impacted the size of the data across different regions. Okay. Did you notice this, that all the blanks were also taken into consideration? Okay. So now remember I was explaining something about highlighting just where your data is. Can someone remind me? Can someone unmute themselves and tell me how we can highlight just specifically where our data is?
We click at the right corner, top right corner, where your cursor is.
Okay, I just click on it.
Right, sir.
Okay, it's highlighting everything, including the blanks.
Okay, you mean the particular data you want to use?
Our data frame, all of this 10 column.
I don't understand the question. Please ask again.
Now look at what I just did. What's the difference between these two and this?
Another way I know that we can do it, we can control shift then your right key.
Right. Well then, so Control A typically
the first one
this.
has selection of.
Yeah, go ahead, Lizzie. Of everything, including empty cells, right? Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay. Now I want us to compare two things at this point. So let's put it here. Now the same thing we did, we're going to repeat it here. So I'm just going to quickly run through that. And then net sales, the value. Just a second. All right, now I want you to compare the two and tell me what you noticed. So let me start with the unknown, the unknown region. But we know that the sales exist. Like I mentioned, so in a more advanced way, there's a way we can redistribute the values for the unknown, to the other regions. But in this case, let's just assume that we do not know where we know sales came, but we don't know which region for the unknown. Obviously, is the least, isn't it? And on our pie chart, it's the purple icon, which is this.
Yes.
Obviously, is the smallest. Okay. Now, what's the
Yes.
largest?
Now,
What's the largest for? So in
that's
our,
south.
is it south? Confirm.
Yes, sir. Yes.
South.
It now feels like the largest on the pie chart, probably because it's closer to us.
Before you look at charts, okay, before you look at charts, now let's look at the
The
what's it
number,
called? The
the
numbers here.
figure.
Okay. Okay.
Yes,
So
it's the south.
okay, what's the value of south? South is
Okay.
31,000. What about west?
I think it's the
Thirty-four
West.
thousand.
34,000.
It's actually the
I think
west.
the chart is not.
Okay.
It's actually the West. I think the pie chart is not that clear. Maybe we should
Okay.
just go with the bar chart.
So
I
now,
think it's more clear.
so before we come to the what's it called, to the bar chart. So for west, we have 34,000. Okay. Now,
Yes.
so from the color of now, just so that you know, so this east is color blue, deep blue. North is like wine.
Orange. Yeah.
South is like lemon or green. While
Yeah.
unknown, of course, is a purple, and then
Or purple.
west is which is this sky blue. Okay. Now it depends on the
West
angle
is right.
you are seeing from. Okay, and I'm tempted to redraw our chart, our pie chart. Okay, I'm going to use another chart. Please, are we all following?
Yes, sir.
We are unmute your mic and let me know if you are all following.
Yes, we are following. Yes.
So I'm
Yes,
going
we follow
to
you.
reduce this so that you can see clearly. Please let me know if you can see clearly.
Yes, I
Yeah.
can see clearly.
Oh, better. Now, it's obvious from our data that the West is the largest. All right.
Yes.
Now, I'm trying to use something better because that 2D or 3D chart I used, the angle
Yes. It's not.
is where you are, someone that is sitting at the other side, you see that it's actually the largest. So, but with this,
So I
that's
think
why
this
you
is
shouldn't,
better.
sometimes you don't complicate your matters. Just sometimes keeping it simple makes it look perfect. Okay. So it's obvious that west is the largest from here, and it's sky blue, as you can
Yeah.
see. Also from our bar chart,
Yes.
it has the highest bar.
Yeah.
Okay. Then the list is unknown. From our bar chart is the
Yeah.
smallest bar. The same thing here is color purple, unknown. We don't know which region. Okay. Then for north, our north is this orange. Our east. So you know that after west, the next one is the south because it's even obvious from me. After
Yeah.
34 is 31. Okay, and
It's
that's why we see that although this is the biggest, the next one that follows is this. Okay, so the essence of the visualization or visualizing or visualization is to immediately begin to show to the stakeholders or the clients in a simple way those big figures that they might not have understood easily. All right. I mean, everyone can look at this and say, "Oh, so we had the highest sale in this particular region in the West. What are we doing differently?" Now, as the analyst, you can then begin to look at using filter that we learned the other time. You look at just data from the West. What are they doing differently? You can even check for trend. And that's the next thing I want us to check for. For those months, let's check for the trend of sales across the data. Our dashboard is a bit scattered, but then we'll find a way around it. Okay. So we want to use line charts. Now remember, this is sales by
region.
this is sales by region. Okay,
Yes, sir.
sales by region. So, but in fact, I want us to see sales by category. Then we'll look at the time series, which is like the trend using line chart, and then we'll be done. Then in 20 minutes, I'll walk you through the freelancing opportunities. So let's go back to our data. Next time you learn to also rename your sheet. So let's call this our data, okay? And this other sheet, let's call it our dashboard or report dashboard, whatever, dashboard. All right, so we're going back to data, okay? So let's highlight again, and then we want to say insert pivot table. We want to create a fresh table on an existing worksheet. So once you click on existing worksheet, it gives you this box where you can then click on it. After you've clicked on it, you now go to your dashboard sheet because we want it all to be on the same dashboard. Okay. So wherever you want the data to appear. Okay, so let's say we want it to appear here. Now this is all scattered, but then now don't forget that. Okay, I'll show you that later. Now, the moment you click on anywhere here where you want the pivot table to appear, it's going to show you that here, and then you can say, okay. Once you do that, now we want to perform another operation. This time around, we're not dealing with region. We're dealing with net sale. We're still interested in, net sales based on category. Okay, so product category. We're interested in product category. So you want to click on product category, or you can drag it to the row. All right, so it immediately shows here. So we have books, we have clothing, we have electronics, we have furniture. Then we are interested in the net sales. Remember I told you not to put it in a column, but then you want to put it in values. Okay, so it gives us the sum of our net sales for each of the products. So you can easily tell the client, oh, so for books across this period of time, maybe if the data was collected for 4 months or so, for books, you made so amount, it's in Naira. For clothing, this is the amount you made. But then you need to create a visualization that is clearer. Let's use a bar chart to do that, or what we call a column chart. So again, just click on the data. You want to go to insert. All right. You want to go to insert. You want to click on this. You want to click on this. So it begins to suggest options. So we've used block there. Let's use a 2D column bar chart here, something simple. Okay. So So yeah, so we have this. Let's rename the title as sales by category. Sales by product category. Now, just like we have there, obviously from our data, we can see that for books has the highest sales, 39,680, and that's why it's the highest here. Okay. And then the list is furniture. Is it furniture? It's not furniture. The list is electronics from here, which is 22,000. And that's why it's a list. So this gives a better representation for the figure. You see, the figure I almost made mistake of telling, okay, so which one is even the highest or the least? But from the chart, easily you can tell, you see, books, you are doing well in sales of books. Whatever you are doing, just keep doing it. But then we need to see how electronics can increase in sales and all. All right. Okay, so lastly, let's look at the line chart. Let's look at the line chart. Now, for the line charts, we want to check for trend. And the kind of data we would need for the line chart will be dates. You see where date comes handy. Okay, and then let's also use net sales. Now I'm just teaching you principles with simple variables. It applies to any other kind of variables you want to use as you look into your data and say, okay, this is what I want to do. Okay, I want to see, for example, you might even be interested in quantity over time. Right now, the same way we'll go back to our data highlighted, we need to create another pivot. All right, now this is at the basic level. We want to create a pivot for net sales over time. Okay, so let's come back to our dashboard. Let's put our data somewhere around here. Let me put it here and say, okay, so I'm going to go to dates. Okay. So obviously this tells us that, it is just 4 months data, which is January to April, all right, from the date. Now we go to insert as usual. Now before then, don't forget we're using by sales, isn't it? By net sales. So let's get the net sales. So this is the sale per month, but then we need to check the trend of our sales. So to check the trend of our sales, we need to say insert, and then this is the line chart. Once you click on it, you can use this. It's basic. It tells you something. Now, I need someone to unmute the mic and tell us what this tells us. What did you observe? This is January, February, March, April. What can you say about sales? Now imagine I'm the client now.
So at the month of March, we have the highest sales, but we notice that the sales is actually dropping since that time. So probably we don't know the cause.
You are the analyst now. You tell us the cost. I was just kidding. So then, basically, you ask more questions to be able to understand. You ask the client, okay, so what are the things you were doing in March? Okay, you get. So from those inquiries, you can easily tell why. And you notice the decline is very sharp.
It's very sharp, but it's actually really dropping.
It's very sharp. Okay, so monthly sales trend. Kindly mute your mic. All right, so lastly, there's something called slicer. So the slicer is what we generally use to slice our data. based on certain attributes. If we want to slice all of our visualizations based on, let me remove this, based on, let's say, let me leave this here. So if we want to slice all of our visualizations based on region, for example, from Insert, you find something here called slicer. Once you click on it, it's going to immediately show you all the variables you can use to slice. All right. So let's say we want to slice by region. I'm going to just click on region and say, okay, it's going to give me a slicer tab. Now, the essence of this slicer tab is anyone I click or that is on is going to be displayed. Anyone I remove is going to affect the chart immediately. Now, take a look. Now, I'm going to just click on not alone. Did you notice what happened to all the charts? It only shows me the data because I'm slicing by not. All right. So, for example, the first one, which has to do with region and then sales. So it just tells me the sales by region, which doesn't make any sense, so to say, because we need to be able to compare. So, but by the time I say north and east, okay, you can just say control and then you can start clicking on all the places you want. So let's say north and east only. Slicer helps you while you are reporting, using your dashboard and you're presenting your findings. It helps you to immediately compare, data. All right. Supposing the client now says, okay, now you've shown me the net sales, all right, for all the regions, all right. Let's say for north, south, and west. And it's obvious that, from there, um, which one is the highest, which is like, we say is the west, right? What's all of the west and the south? I want to see, the difference, even though from here it can easily show you, all right? But then just in case you're interested in that, so what you just need to do is to click on the south and the west that you're interested in. Then you see the difference. Oh, and this is by how much it is actually more than this. Okay, by the time you get to Power Query and all of that, you begin to understand some more advanced analysis that can be performed on this. Okay, there's a way we can also add calibrations. On our charts, we can add the specific percentage, based on the size of the distribution. All right, and that's slicing by region. Okay, that's slicing by region. All right. Now, assuming we're interested in slicing by product category, and I'm going to pause there. We'll go to insert. Excuse me. Okay, so we did category around here. So let's go to insert slicer. I want to use product category. Okay. So you notice that because we're using product category and if we have 4 products, now our dashboard is a bit modded off. Usually it's supposed to be very neat, but because we're in a demonstration class. Now we have so we have this for slicing by. Now if I'm just interested in electronics and furniture, all right, so it's going to show me the sales of just electronics and furniture, just that. If I want to add clothing to it, I'm going to hold control and then click on clothing, then it adds clothing to it, then books. Okay, now as you progress and as you grow as a data analyst, you come to see the other importance of using slicing. So for now, I'm just going to pause here. Do you have any question? Do you have any question? Our dashboard is looking
Yes,
very
I have
modern.
a question.
Yes, please.
So I want to know how are you going to get the data? Is it going to be in a raw sheet like you showed us in the first slide?
Yes. Yes, most
Okay, that
likely.
is how the data is going to come
Yeah, most
if you want
times
to work on.
a
Okay.
project, yes. So most times the data will be in either an Excel format, that's .xlsx format,
Okay.
XLSX format, or um, comma separated value, that's .csv. Okay, so the CSV would easily open on an Excel format. For now, that's what you should know. There are other format like JSON format. Um, Data scientists are more, familiar with those, but most times your data will come as a spreadsheet for analysis, something like this. You might not have table. When you open it in Excel, remember how to create your table. Just click anywhere, Control A is going to highlight um, the data for you. Do we have any
Okay.
question?
I have one more question.
Yes,
I wanted to ask, how are we going to know the exact chart to use? Because I noticed that pie chart is not really giving, like,
it
it's looking
depends.
like one
Yeah,
side is bigger than the other.
and also it depends. You notice when we
So
reduced
how are we
another
going to
one,
do
it
that?
will. So ultimately, it's a process. You have to also learn about different charts, what they mean and when to use them. They have their rules. All right. What kind of, for example, if the items you're working with are plenty, you can't use pie charts. You just have plenty things. It doesn't make sense to use it. It doesn't mean it won't work, but when you're presenting your results, you won't be able to provide accurate analysis of whatever you're trying to communicate. There are other things, that would work. Okay? There are other rules. For example, if you are dealing with data like age or height, because it's a continuous variable. Now, these things I'm saying, they might be new to you, but as you grow, you will learn those concepts. So that you can't use a bar chart for it. You can only use something called histogram, you know, for that. So each of them, they have their rules, all right? And those are things you have to learn. So when you learn about them, you will know when to use them and when not to use them. Okay, I hope that answers your question. Okay,
Yeah.
all right. Any more question? All my faithful students have left
I have a
the.
question.
Okay, it's just 2 hours. Oh. I was thinking it's been 3 hours. It's just 2 hours. Okay, please go ahead.
So my question is that the date column. So when we did the visualization, I noticed that the date is actually in days, but the visualization is showing us in months. And since
You
what I
said
do
you
here
said
is
is in
that
what?
it's better you visualize.
Yeah, go
Our
ahead, please.
visualization shows that the date is in. So and what I do here is that the more you see, the more how long, probably if your data is in this, you see more trends. But if you
Great,
are calculating months, you have missed some some value things that you ought to see. You will have missed them because you have marked them.
great.
You won't be able to see them very well.
Great, great. Yeah, you're absolutely right. So there are nuances that you will miss because the trend, you are only seeing trend per month. But there are other things that happen during the month. In certain months might actually experience some very high fluctuations that might be really difficult to pick if you are just visualizing across the month. Right. But again, you must also take into account the nature of your data. All right. So if your data does not
Mm,
provide um, the values in days, in weeks, in months, and in years, and it's just a month, you can only work with that. Do you understand? So you will need a data
yes.
that
Yeah.
has I was collected, daily. All right. And so from there, you
Yes.
can easily check the trend on a daily basis.
Uh, yes.
Okay. All right. So we have a couple of minutes. I'm going to quickly share my screen now. We want to move to the very important part. If you are tired, please send your favorite emoji. This is supposed to be a 3 hours class. I hope we are aware. And nobody is sending their favorite emoji. Okay, so that means we are good. That means we are good. Okay, please unmute your mic. If you can see my screen. No, it's not Python. I'm not showing you Python. I'm going to
Yes,
open something.
yes, you can.
I was not going to show you Python. I hope somebody was not scared. I wasn't. I was going to open something else. Please, it's not Python. Where's that freelancing stuff? I'm going to stop sharing this soon.
It's Python you want to do.
Sorry.
We are doing Python.
Just give me a moment. Please just give me a moment. I'm trying to open the file. Okay, I'm there now. So I'm going to share right away. This is just a couple of minutes. I'll also share all the resources and template CV. I'm going to be all of this will be sent to the group. So I'm just going to share my entire screen. I'm sure you can see my screen. The slide is very short. Please, can you see my screen?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so personally, I've been a freelancer for a very long time, and I've also trained students who have become freelancers and are earning some good money online. And so I just feel it's important for us to learn the protocol that governs online freelancing. And this is going to be very short, don't worry. Now, we're focused on Excel. So imagine you have some good Excel skills. Kindly mute yourself. Kindly mute yourself. Thank you. So, going to. So we're just going to. Okay. Okay. I was trying to see how many slides. So it's not so much. To mute this person. Please, can you mute yourself? Just give me a second. Now, Excel is not just a spreadsheet tool, it is a powerful income generating skill. I've had a student who mastered Excel in 4 weeks and started earning. And started earning just Excel. This person I'm talking about today, I mean, this was like 3 years ago. This person today now earns a lot. This person has learned other tools like SQL and Power BI, and is freelancing big time. So thousands of individuals across the world are earning daily using Excel alone. It's in high demand across industries. This is very basic. So whether it is business, healthcare, NGOs, education, finance, logistics, they need people that can use Excel for data analysis, from basic to more complex analysis. Funny thing is you don't need to be an expert. Okay? Just basic to intermediate skills is just enough for you to get started. So we're going to look at how you are going to, start freelancing and earning with Excel, even with just 2 or 3 hours of your day, right? And your clients, they're all over the world, actually. So first, we need to note the popular roles or the common roles, remote roles for people with Excel skills. First, we have data entry specialists. What they simply do is to input data, organize the data, and update information. That's all. In fact, what we did today is more than all of that. All right. There was someone who got a gig in a month. He got gig in a month as much as over 40 gigs, and each of them were $12 just for data entry. No serious analysis. Just okay, you're able to you can input data, you can just easily organize data so it's clean and updating information. That's all. Then we have virtual assistants who handle spreadsheet for CEOs and business executives, and they also do scheduling and report. All they just do on the spreadsheet is, oh, okay, so this is what this person is working on this month. It could be on different sheets in an Excel spreadsheet. So virtual assistant. Another role is administrative assistant. They manage records, track expenses, and then they format reports. You see, we did some formatting today. Okay, like currency that we formatted, date we formatted something to numeric, to numbers. Then also reporting analysts, they create and they update weekly and monthly Excel reports. Okay, we also have inventory and data clerks. Those are like stock records. They deal with stock records, they update systems, and they also clean data. All right, you've dipped your feet into data cleaning, and it's something that the more you practice, the more you delve into it, the better you become at it. These things they need every day. There are millions of opportunities online just for people that can perform tasks as this, and you don't need to be an expert already using Excel to do this. Also, we have CRM or sales support, people that can track leads on spreadsheet because majorly you just be interacting with spreadsheets. People that can maintain databases is still spreadsheet-like form. Then also we have junior financial uh, data analysts. They work on budget, KPIs, and dashboards. You see, dashboards is not just a buzzword, and it's not something that is just new. It's something you've heard of today, and it's a part of your already. All right, so let's go quickly. So we want to get real task that companies actually pay for. It's important for me to mention this. Now, speaking from a world of almost 10 years experience, and I can tell you for free that every day businesses are looking for someone that can clean their data and format their raw data. That's all. Some businesses, that's all they just need. And they'll pay you in dollars. They'll pay you. Others are looking for people that can create templates, such as invoice, expense trackers, and calendar. Very simple. All you just be doing is putting columns, whatever name they want to call the invoice, whatever. And that's it as a spreadsheet, and you just share with them. Some are looking for someone that can create, develop simple dashboards and summary reports. What we just did today is at a basic level. We just created a dashboard, all right? And then a summary report is when you then begin to, those things we noticed from our visualizations from the chart. Please confirm if you can hear me or mute yourself. I need to be sure my students are.
We can hear you, sir.
Yes, I can hear you. Yeah,
It's just 3 people that can hear me.
I can hear you. I can hear you.
Adin follower, can you hear me? Okay,
Yes, I can hear you.
great. Thank you very much. All right. So also they're looking for people who can do something as basic as what we just did tonight. They're looking for people that can do that to their data. And you're not going to, the data is not coming from the moon. It's just similar to what we saw. It might be more rows, that's more cases and more columns. We had 10 columns, it might be maybe 20, 50, whatever. It's still the same principle. Then we have building budget tracking sheets. Okay, something can be updated over time. They need someone to do that. Also automating monthly reports update. All right. Now, it's not called VBA, which we didn't really treat. Those are other levels. And I'm still going to come back to speaking about, for those of us that might really be interested in, building their skills in a very organized manner. We are an academy. These are our way of giving back to society. But then if you feel you need to find yourself in an organized setting to really learn, we currently for this level, people that must have attended this webinar would expect that 2 courses are targeted towards you. Excel for data analytics. In 5 weeks, you gain mastery of these things, and then you begin to cash out. Then if you feel you will need a more robust portfolio of skill or tools as a data analyst, then we also have another course. That one covers Excel, Power BI, and SQL. And that runs for about 10 weeks. By the way, we have some of our students on this call who are already a part of that. So that is more robust. And later, we're going to be sharing details about that. Okay. Also, we have companies that are looking for people that can compile and organize survey or customer data. Very simple task. Then visualizing basic trends using charts and tables. I mean, these are things that you're beginning to dip your feet into, and you've learned the foundations tonight. Okay, so we're almost done. Now, freelancing works, I'm going to recommend Upwork. 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 I think I have a screenshot of my own dashboard for, okay, it's for Fiverr. I'm going to share it with you. That'll be the last one I'll share with you before we go tonight. So Upwork, long-term and short-term projects, the client rating builds your profile, and you don't necessarily need so much. You don't need money to get started with Upwork and Fiverr. Even though they'll say, oh, this will give you, for those who might have had serious skill and the money. For example, Fiverr will say with $20, you will have access to a wider pool of customers. But then, even with the free version, you have access to almost 1 million potential customers. So Fiverr, I've used Fiverr for years. Then we have something called freelancer.com. It's more bidding based. We have remote.co. We have LinkedIn. I've gotten a couple of projects via LinkedIn. All of these things comes with building a competitive portfolio for them. In the courses in our academy, we strive to help students to build a portfolio around this, whether you want to practice as a data analyst and freelancing, or you're just upskilling because you're a professional person in whether finance or sciences or what have you. So we help you to build a portfolio. All right. So lastly, how to get started? You need to have a good grasp of basic to intermediate Excel. All right. You're learning this now. You've started already. So again, you need a clean, simple CV or portfolio showing your Excel skills. You don't need something very elaborate. And I'm going to share a template CV. I will share that between today and tomorrow. I will share it to the group. And so if you're really interested in this, I think now, before I continue, in the chat box, please drop your WhatsApp number that is going. So Adedoyin is going to take note of that. Adedoyin, I believe you're still on the call. So in the chat box, in the next 2 minutes before I conclude, just drop your number. Okay, so Rebecca will has dropped her number. So let me just give us 2 minutes to do that, and then we're going to run it. So Adedoyin, please take note of the number so that you can communicate this directly. Okay, we have less than 2 minutes more. Okay, so why would you do that? So I just do not want us to be distracted. There's a way we can also save it using Zoom. We can get the chat. So while we're still waiting for, okay, I think 5 people have dropped their numbers. Okay, so what are we waiting for? Okay. Okay. Yeah, so our students might also choose to do that. Okay. All right, so I'm just going to continue right away so that we can be done with this. So a well-written freelancer portfolio bio. Okay, there's no time I would have shown you my personal bio. Something very key, the services you render, the gig you're offering, then the sample of your work. Now, in the academy, it's also an emphasis for people to build portfolio projects. That would help you to gain visibility, and then you can easily showcase your work on the things you've done, from data cleaning to creating a tracker to a dashboard and report. Then also you need a laptop and good internet to be a good freelancer. Now PayPal, some people knows the way around it. For now, you might don't stress around PayPal. Payoneer is something that allows you to connect your local
We
accounts
can't
to
see
it.
your screen.
You are not muted. Kindly mute your mic.
We can't see your screen, sir.
Oh, you can't see my screen. Have I stopped sharing? So sorry.
You are seeing your logo.
Oh, so sorry. Need to check. Oh, sorry. Please confirm if you can see my screen. Can you see my screen now?
You can.
Okay,
Yes,
great.
sir.
Yes, I can see your screen.
Okay, so I'm just going to just give me a bit. Okay. So sample work is very important in portfolio, the work you've done, all right, like dashboards especially, data cleaning and all of those things. So it's like I said, one of the things we try to make people achieve in the academy so they can build a portfolio of work, all right? There's something also we call a portfolio website. At the end of the course for each of our students will ensure that they're able to create a portfolio website where you can go and just see their works. It says, hey, hello there with their picture, and then just a little about them. We will talk about some other things they do apart from data analysis, and then the projects they've worked on, and the kind of services you can offer. Okay. Then, of course, I've mentioned laptop and internet. It's very important. I was talking about Payoneer. You need to get a Payoneer account. It allows you to add your local account to it. So the your client, if it's an international client, will pay into your Payoneer account. Payoneer will pay into your local account. I've used Payoneer very well. And it was the other platforms you can use like Grey, Grey, and others. Okay. Then you need patience and consistency. So your first gig may take a little bit of time, but again, it's worth it. By the time you delve into it, my little bit of time, what I mean is it might take as much as 3 weeks. After you are confident, of course, and you set up your portfolio, it might take, as much as that. So, get started. So let me just quickly show you. So I'm going to show you two more things and then we'll be out of here tonight. Okay. Just two more things and then we'll be out of here tonight. Okay. Okay, so I need to show you just a dashboard very quickly. Can you all see my screen? Please confirm if you can see my screen. Oh, sorry.
Yes.
I need to be sure you can all see what I'm showing. Okay, so this is a personal dashboard on one of my freelancing page. I don't want, I won't show you how much I've made over time. I think I've even spent the money. I'm just joking around. All right, so Fiverr, when you set up, I recommend Fiverr. You can start with Fiverr and Upwork, okay? And you don't have to pay. Later, you can subscribe to the pro version. But at the basic, I didn't start with the paid version, and I was able to make sense. When you start making money, you can start paying. I think the paid version is For the pro version, it's $20 or so for 3 months, which is small money compared to how much you can realize. Now, I just want to show you a few metrics on my dashboard here. And this for one of the gigs. This shows the description of the gig and impressions. Impressions means the reach that the profile for this gig has actually reached. It's reached 12,650 people. All right, that are actively looking for, maybe data analyst or whatever. All right, I deliberately shared this because this gig that was created on Fiverr is specifically around data analysis. All right, now, although 12,650 people interacted with my gig, all right, it's like a post, Fiverr where people post it to potential buyers or people that can buy your service or that need your service. So 7,431 people have clicked on it so far. 7,431 people have clicked on it so far. Then the actual order, all right, it's not everyone that would click on it and even see what you did that would actually come for the service at the end of the day. So the actual order at the end of the day are around 2,438. Okay, the cancellation rate is 3.5%. What just means is that of all of the 2,438 orders that I've worked on, about 96.5% of them were completed. Other 3.5, maybe due to some dispute or whatever happened, the work didn't end, which is a good, cancellation rate. Now, the real deal is in this order where you have 2,438, right? Even if it was $1, which is not possible, just multiply $1 by that 2,438. That will give you an idea of how much this particular person, has made on Fiverr for just one gig, for that gig. Okay, multiple clients. So it's an average of, $20. It depends on the project. All right, depends on the size of the project. So for assuming $20. Please mute your mic. Assuming it is $20 for over almost 2,500 projects. That's almost 50,000 US dollars. You can do the maths later. I'm not going to do the maths for you. All right. So this is just a way of challenging you and encouraging you that start from somewhere. Regardless of whether you are working full-time somewhere, you can. Oh, someone said we can't see your screen anymore. Could you see my screen?
No, we are not seeing any screen.
No, we can't.
Oh, really? I was actually showing you a dashboard.
We
No,
saw that one where you were showing
we
us the
saw it,
impression,
but
clicks,
it's
and
not
all that.
showing anymore.
Oh, really? Oh, but basically that's just what I was going to show you. Let me just. So yeah, so I was just showing you the order. I'm sure you can see it now.
It's up.
Yeah. So what really determines the amount of
But can we see the gig
the
that was
profit?
done?
What did you say? The project.
The work.
So
Yeah.
those ones are those access are meant for our students. Okay. This is just to give us a general overview. Yeah. In this workshop. Thank you for asking. Okay. All right, guys. So I would like to draw the curtain here. Questions. We need to go. We've used 3 hours plus, and I think we've made progress. Questions. Okay. So, I'm going to be sharing with you the slides for the course for this webinar. For the 2 days, we'll be sharing to the group. A link to this would also be shared to today's video for yesterday that has been shared to the webinar group. What else? The sample CV will be sent, and a few other things that might be important would also be shared. All right. So in the absence of any question, I guess we're going to draw the curtain here. Thank you guys for joining. And have a lovely evening. Adedoyin, please stay back on the call. So we're going to wait for everyone to drop off the call. Thank you
Okay,
guys.
thank you very
You're welcome.